It's Sunday, so futures just opened. Gold is up significantly, and I just posted about gold being up on Twitter. Gold is up quite a bit for a Sunday evening move, so pulling back a little bit right now. But I mean, it's pretty weird for gold to put in this kind of move on a Sunday open, unless someone's getting carried out right now, which I don't think is probably the case. A significant move in gold can be from a few different things. Obviously, there's conflict right now, so you have sort of that global instability bid. But this is something just, I guess, to keep on your radar because, obviously most of the people that probably tune in are predominantly crypto traders. Bitcoin sort of has the benefit of being able to be a chameleon of sorts and to change identities when it's beneficial to do so. So I'd say for the most part, of course, it's, a higher beta risk asset, trades a lot of times trades like a tech stock, but then there's times when it does follow gold, and you just obviously want to have as many things working against your sails, or at least have the wind against your back and be sort of pissing with the wind, swimming upstream. So if we have people buying in anticipation of the ETF on January 10th, those being green lit, you have the halving coming up, and if you have risk assets across the board remaining somewhat bid, and then you have gold moving up, it's like, how many things can you have on your side? Really no excuse to not continue to move up. But like I said, gold's not one to put in arbitrary moves on a Sunday evening. So someone had mentioned that this might be from the attack in the Red Sea, which is possible. We'll keep an eye on this. I don't want to talk too much about gold because I don't trade gold. But anyway, I think we're going to have a blow off top. I think we'll have a local blow off top. We'll have some kind of extended move. It kind of just feels like that in the air. And it's weird to put it that way. And before I get into talking about BTC, I've talked about how, you have to be able to switch in this market, and you have to be somewhat, if you're a generalist, you'll crush it in this market. But when the market is trending and when market is moving on momentum, I just honestly defer to some pretty basic strategies. And a lot of times it's going to be using simple moving averages just to determine how stretched out we are, who's in control, clear the bulls are in control. But it's something that I lean on a little bit more rather than focusing on sort of the more granular order flow stuff. Right. So as we begin to trend, I pay a little bit more attention to some basic momentum tools. I pay attention to broader positioning instead of like focusing in on 5-minute CBD diversions. For anyone who's new, wondering what this is, it's always for me just a 20-period moving average, looking at that on either the 4-hour, the daily, and the weekly. And it's not a set science for me, right? I've been doing this long enough that I feel like I have it down. I've been through multiple cycles at this point and done a really good job of getting myself out of trends, at least 10-15% within the top. And then you're also looking at this white line, which is just for the sake of anchoring it at the beginning of a really strong year, and ultimately most of these moves, it is the yearly VWAP. So yearly VWAP and then one standard deviation band. But anyhow, BTC through a very significant level, big round number, 40,000. It does feel like right now that you could sort of hit the broadside of a barn, right? Hitting in this market, or should I say just punting at anything and making money, is easier than hitting the broadside of a barn with a ball. I think that's saying sort of extends across the world. I hope it's not just a thing in the United States. There's something in the air right now, right? People are sharing screenshots of P&Ls. A lot of the chats that I'm in, the question is, what reason do you have to be bearish right now? And actually, oddly enough, everybody asking that question makes me a little bit bearish, right? So I just start to be a little cautious. I said yesterday, and it's really important to have self-awareness, right? I've talked about the concept of a cheer hedge for a long time. Brent Donnelly was someone that I learned it from. But the idea of like when you're cheering your positions, when other people are cheering their positions, that might be time to either take the other side or begin to remove some risk. And I know myself, and yesterday I called for 50K. I posted something like 50K BTC, very easy, not for nothing. It's not difficult for this market to move up that much. In the past, when the train gets going and we're back accepted within a prior area of price that has rejected us for a really long time, it tends to be the case that it's one-sided for a while and it always feels like it's going to top out. But I called for a price that was $10,000 away. And that to me was just like, okay, got to be careful. This is like one of the signs in yourself that usually kind of is found around at least local tops, right? Your excitement is beginning to boil over. Up here, we did see the premiums come back in a lot of the futures across the board. BTC, not so much spot led the entire time. But again, Michael Saylor's in the money now. This is going to be something you're going to have to deal with for a long time. This is why it's useful to deal with, or rather use more systematic methods when the market is trending, because you will overthink things. So at least I know, like, if I'm using a 10 period, I'm sorry, I forgot to mentioned that before, a 10 period and a 20 period moving average. If that's given me a really ugly signal that I've relied on in the past, or I've known has kind of accompanied turning points, I know that I should lean one way a little bit more. And if I'm going to try to be somewhat systematic when the market is trending, it's actually, no, I should put it differently. You shouldn't really be somewhat systematic. You should try to be as systematic as possible. At least that's my opinion. When the market is trending, you want to be able to lean on some kind of systematic entry and exit. You have to be willing to leave some on the table, right? Be willing to buy slightly higher and sell slightly lower than the top or the bottom. But yeah, I do think we're going to blow off relatively soon. What you're looking at right here is the SYNQUOTE DEX. Now, I only put on just enough to control a position that I have open on this. So right now, my net worth of $36,732, that is all dedicated to this premium for the January 26, 2600 calls. So this is a pure directional move. This is not a spread. I was eating theta. So yesterday, buying right into it, about $700 a day. But I bought 400 contracts. Of average cost for those was 83 for the first 200, creeping toward 85. Average basis right now, 85.50. So a couple things, right? So one, check out SYNQUOTE. Again, phenomenal DEX, best DEX there is right now for options. It's on par with Deribit in terms of liquidity. So it's RFQ, so it's request for a quote. There's a lot of things I can't say that are coming in the next month, but I'm very excited. I've been on the team, the core team now for a long time. So I use the platform. It is where I trade options. This is a significant position, right? So this is around 900,000 notional. I think is setting up for a big catch-up play. So from a technical standpoint, ETH looks like it is just beginning to break out, and in a similar way that BTC has already done a while ago. So I'm confident that this is going to catch up, and I'm confident that when BTC cools down and after January 10th, ETFs approved, right? Fingers crossed, that we're going to see a lot of capital flow back into ETH. I think you could expect that some capital that's in Solana will flow back to ETH as well. I think just from a cost standpoint, in terms of how the options market is pricing one over the other, this is a pretty strong bet that I'm willing to make. And again, I'm not doing anything to limit my upside. So I could be long a call spread, right? I could just sell something a little bit further out. And this is out of the money already, but to sort of help this bleed, because there is a significant amount of bleed if the market's not moving. But I'm this confident in the position that I want to just hold this naked as it is. Yeah, I think ETH is going to catch up. I think people are sleeping on ETH. And I think I like, honestly, when I see that people are, it's to the point of mockery almost at this point. If you're in ETH, you pick the wrong horse. Everyone is behind Solana now. And, ETH is too expensive. Like now that we have a major range breakout, regardless of how you cut it, if we look at this on weekly, daily, clearly a major inflection point going all the way back to, last year. Long time in the making, finally breaking through that. 2100, I think, is 2150. 2100, 2150. I mean, unless we lose that decisively, I think this is going to start to take everyone's attention. Flip, for example, that has just been up only, right? Because the possibilities are endless. This has just started. Who knows? Maybe this can be the next whatever coin. Retail likes being in on things on the ground floor, or what they perceive to be the ground floor or the closest, point to the starting point. We know that a lot of the times when you look at a chart like this, there are already people that are well in position from seed rounds that are up 5,000%. And, that's something that's worth mentioning, because when you do have a chart that's new like this, a lot of times they do put in a big move up initially for the first maybe couple months, and then they do have a much longer corrective period where they're reaccumulated. And you might have something continue to move down 50% and wonder why there's a ton of selling pressure still, because you're looking at technicals and thinking, well, it's dropped all the way down to where it started. Why does it continue to see sell pressure come in? And it's because there are people that were, seed investors that are still up. Maybe they're not up 5,000% at that point, but they're up 2,000%, 2,500%. And, they're not sensitive to that 50% move in price because they're up massively. Nevertheless, during this period of the cycle, I want to focus on pairs that don't really have any history. Ordi is a great example. If you could have something that doesn't have any history, so this goes back to has history but has no massive blow off top and then prolonged bearish period. This qualifies as new. So this is new. This has retraded back above, and I posted this before this move. So I posted this at 23, and this is already put in almost a 100% move. What I said was, this is just a way that you try to think somewhat like this, is when you have a new chart like this, if you had this kind of prolonged pullback and consolidation, and then the market trades above its listing price, trades above its high, everyone who sold too early. Simple concept, right? Everyone who sold too early. Everyone who sold was wrong, essentially, right? You can start thinking of it that way. If you sold, you were wrong. right? Because, you know, you sold at 19, now price is at 37. How do you feel about that? So moves like this after consolidations, right? Whether it's a drawdown or consolidation, anything that retakes its prior or its listing high or its all-time high and is new, especially when there's this very clean technical retest, buying all-time highs is actually a pretty good thing to do, depending on how much time has passed. So buying all-time highs after a month has passed, not a great idea necessarily, right? Some trend followers might do things like that, you know, buy 30-day highs or 70-day highs, whatever system they're using. It's more significant the longer the time has passed between those 2 points, right? So this is a great example. This is going on over 6 months. So again, this is not complicated at all. Like, you guys probably could figure this out on your own, but I think personally that the new coins will, I mean, you could figure it out on your own if you looked at previous cycles. The new coins will probably do the best, honestly, right? Because there's not a ton of supply. There's no bag holders really, you know. I mean, there could be a bunch of supply, so I don't want to just say that and blanket that, depending on unlocks and, you know, what the current float is compared to the outstanding float. But more importantly, no bag holders, right? So you're not selling to someone that's waiting to get out for a long time now. So new coins and AI related pairs. So AI related pairs, I think that you're going to see a lot of projects pivot in a way that allows them to attach their name to AI. Honestly, that's what I'm most focused on right now. Small cap, I actually bought this. So because this is on the screen right now, or you might not have been able to see that until I clicked on that. I don't know if you could see the tabs, but in case anyone's wondering, the loot box. So I bought this because I saw Messi was talking about it. I punted, and this brings me into, I guess, a good brief conversation about small caps. I don't know a whole lot about on-chain trading. I don't know a whole lot about small caps. You know, it's very easy to just have a white paper, a website, and, you know, a bunch of promise, and it means absolutely nothing. When it comes to small caps, especially during this time in the cycle, I will just kind of punt what I consider throwaway money. So whatever number that is, I'm basically writing it off after I have bought. So I buy this, you know, there's a couple other things that I bought. I don't want to mention them on stream because they're very illiquid. This I only pulled up because I think you could see the tabs up top. If you can't, well, I'm in this. But when it comes to really small things like this, I don't try to get fancy. Like if I buy a couple ETH, whatever amount, every time I've ever taken profit on a 2x, you know, I remember last cycle, the thing went on to 20x. So what I'm doing right now is basically, like I said, allocating a certain amount of money to projects that I think, based on my own sniff test and people that I trust, projects that I think have potential, right? They're kind of lottery tickets, but putting out a good amount of, not a good amount of capital, but I am picking enough where I think that a significant amount of them should return well enough to make up for the ones that don't. But my take profit for them is more or less like time based. It's not that I am, you know, trying to determine where I want to take profit on loot or any of these other super small caps. It's not me micromanaging them at all, really. It's kind of me just buying them, throwing them on my ledger, and I want to come back to them in a couple months. BTC moves up, you know, same aggressiveness as on the CME. I want to still see that coin is following as well. I think coin is a shit coin, but then I go back and forth thinking it's a possible, it might be the better indicator above anything, but I'm not 100% sure about that. But regardless of, you know, whether or not that's true, I do want to see that the market is kind of maintaining this behavior, and there's no sudden disconnects between coin and BTC, and between, like I said, the futures, CME futures, and crypto native BTC. So I just want to see that that behavior is maintained moving forward. So next Sunday, I'll definitely have a lot more structure, or we just talk about the week ahead. I mean, it's been an exciting market, right? So it's not like anyone needs any major updates because nothing has really changed. But every Sunday now I'm going to be doing this at 7:30. So if I didn't mention that earlier, but that is the plan. Okay. Have a fantastic night. Or morning, wherever you are.